All right, class, today we are going to begin coding in CSS. Well, what is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. And what it means is CSS is kind of like our interior designer. HTML was like our framer and the person who built the bones of our house. Well, and then we ask CSS to come in and make it look pretty. So why do we use CSS? It's topographically and page layout can be better controlled. Style is separate from structure, and that's what I was just recently talking about. Our style can be stored separately as well. Our documents are a little bit smaller, and site maintenance is easier. So how is CSS broken down? Well, in HTML, we have elements, and in CSS, we have properties. So an example of a CSS property is a background color. So what we're going to do is we talk about in CSS, we need a selector. And this selector is our HTML tag or another type of selector. And we'll go into that a little bit later. But we do need a selector. And then what tag are you wanting to change is essentially what our selector is. We use curly braces to wrap after our selector. And we can have multiple property declarations. And what we do is we access a property and then with a semicolon and what we want to change it to. So notice here we have background color, semicolon, and then a different color there. All right. And that is kind of the basic structure of CSS. There are three different ways we can use CSS. We can have inline CSS, embedded styles, and external styles within our CSS. So inline is essentially within the HTML tag and within the HTML code, we write style equals and then our property that we want to change and our value that we're changing it to. There's no need for a selector because it's within the HTML tag. And this is called inline style. Embedded style is where within our head element we create a HTML style tag. And then we use our selector, and in this case it's body. And then in curly braces we use our property and then what we want to change it to and close it out with curly braces. We can also have multiple different declarations or change multiple properties at once, and we separate those out with a semicolon. So just notice that. And embedded, we have a separate style tag. And then finally, we have external. And external is a different file. In HTML, we need to create a link to this, but we don't use the anchor tag. We use a link actual tag. It's just an opening tag. And what we do is we say link rel style sheet, and then we do the href attribute here. And this is the name of our file that goes in these quotation marks. And then type attribute is text/CSS. All right. And then some basic examples is in this external CSS file is where we will write some stuff. And we'll see an example of each one here in a bit. But that is it for your entry to CSS. Let me know if you have any questions.